All right. Welcome back to our stream here Monday morning, bright and early, ready to go to get after this trading day. I'll be your host, as always. It's just me here in the Policing Pips live streaming room here on Tradecaster and YouTube. I am a little annoyed that we sold off before we got into our territory. It seems like 7:30 here was a really nice time to execute. Just wasn't here to do that. It's not part of the plan. So just kind of wait and see what happens with this previous day high level. Maybe we'll get some divergence around there. It was a reactive selling point on Friday. We are sitting on this downtrend line here on this chart right there. Make sure I'm on that chart. Yeah. You can see that blue line is previous day high. The red line is the pre-midnight overnight high, but it is a structure level nonetheless. You can see reactive level there at 330. So 330 will be an important level. This trend line here could break down into the pre-market lows, overnight lows there, that green line 19,211. And we'll watch that as well. Breakdown in that, this trend here doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to kind of continue crushing off, selling off. I think maybe an initial pullback into these levels could lead to a bounce, just kind of based on market structure and everything. But if it goes, then we'll wait and see. Let's go ahead here, wait for this market to open. Get your horses in line, everything ready to go. Everybody's in the gates. We do have The algo's dancing around already. So we are all but open here. 7 seconds till the open. Let's see what happens with this price action. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. I know I worked, so that's how my weekends go. Could fade that previous day high, but I want to let this Monday morning candle go. I love the shorts Monday morning right off the jump. However, since we are away from the level right on the VWAP, can't quite do such a short right off the go. Just for rules' sake, doesn't mean you can't take it. Just for me personally, this is not my cup of tea. Right, shorting right off the open, right at VWAP, clearly needs to manipulate, needs to get some orders out of the way. S&P's overnight low is a lot closer than the NQ's right here. It's up a little bit higher right at that level there. So we are pushing down into it. See what happens if it reacts on the ES overnight level and what we'll get out of that. The overnight low is all the way down here. This was market structure from, that might not actually be correct. Let me just make sure that is not correct. That is structure. So I'm going to leave that structure there. The overnight low on the S&Ps is technically where we opened and gapped down and rolled over and clean that up right there. So that's technically the overnight low. So correcting my levels as we go here on a Monday. That short right off the jump on Monday seems to be the go-to play. I would have loved to have been up at the highs, but to no avail. We did crack through that trend line there. That trend line crack right at basically the 283, basically VWAP was that trend line area. That's usually kind of the case. VWAP is going to be that bullish bearish trend line. So just be mindful of that. NVIDIA is flat in the pre-market session. It is just dancing around with that pre-market level. Microsoft, we do have a lot of earnings this week. Microsoft's rolling over. Apple rolling over. Google, Amazon. We have Amazon later this week. We have Google later this week. We have Apple later this week. AMD. I would like to see this thing kind of dip a bit more, get myself down a little lower. I did like this level. That is a key structure level from this morning. That would have been a nice target. If we would have been able to wick up over that previous day high level, then I would have been able to short that right off the jump. Right now, I don't know if that's going to be the true case on this. If we get back above it, I don't want to just short it immediately. I want to find my divergences, find what's going on. Russell is rolling over, so I did say that the flows may come back from the Russell, from the small caps, back into large cap names with the earnings this week, with the data points potentially. We have the rate decision on Wednesday. We have FOMC. We have non-farms on Friday. So it is a data-driven week. Lots of earnings. So be patient. There will be plenty of opportunities to get your levels in play. I would like to get over the overnight highs. That's really more where I'm looking. Maybe 330 is a nice area where there was some resistance, right? Pre-market, pre-midnight, I should say. 320 to 330. That was a really nice wick up into VWAP, right into that opening range. Let me draw up the opening range on S&Ps. That's the 1 minute opening range on the S&P. We'll go ahead and label it for you. 1 minute opening range. Somehow that disappeared. I don't know what's going on with that. How far to the right? There it is. Okay. So now we are trying to push back up. That was a nice little wick all the way down into not quite the overnight low. This right here was a nice structure point for a rejection. There was structure there. If you just look left, right around 2 and 3 o'clock this morning, the opening range is still holding as the high. NVIDIA is pushing upside. It pushed through structure from Friday and into Thursday's kind of resistance level. I think 115 is going to give up and probably look to run as high side. If this gives up and pushes high side, the break of previous day high here could give us the breakout that will run us into the overnight high. And I might look to take that. Normally, I'm looking to take failed breaks and rotations back the other direction. But normally, that's on the overnight high, looking to come back to VWAP. So close to VWAP with NVIDIA acting so strong. And the way that this, like a hair here, the way that this market is looking, the back above that level, that 30-minute, 293 to 297, accepts us back above that trend line. This is almost like a wick bottom on that trend line and rotate right back to that. I don't think we're ready to totally crack to the bottom yet. Relative strength and weakness still kind of not displaying itself between the two indexes. They're both about the same. Delta's pushing up. Price isn't quite pushing up. Russell still holding that opening range low, below that opening range low. So see if anything comes of that. If Russell keeps selling, S&P seems like it's a little heavy still. Tighter to VWAP. NQ is tighter to VWAP. S&P's clearly a little bit further off. If we get that wick of here, we're still relatively strong in the NASDAQ compared. So watch for that. All right. Monday. Just patient on the price action, letting things come to you. NQ relatively strong compared to the S&P. So if S&P start to catch a bid, watch this. I'm going to look to potentially take the breakout, and if it fails, then so be it. I'll stop in one above. Actually, that's a 300 level. NVIDIA is breaking through and into highs. I think we can get a little squeeze action up and through, and then beyond that could push into the overnight highs. But I'm going to be quick to trail the breakout above. I'm more a normal failed breakout type. So I want to see if this is going to rotate through here, squeeze up a little bit. I'm going to take a quick little piece off and then look for failure at the overnight high. Just based on pure NVIDIA strength, right? NVIDIA is really strong right now, which should drag this up. If S&Ps can catch any sort of bid, then we should be good to go. Yeah, I'm going to take the break of that. Decent size on the market, on the order here. See if we get filled on the breakout above this previous day high. Kind of just going with the strength of the pre-market. If it fails, it fails. So be it. We're willing to take that first shot of the week here on this one. And then be really quick to tighten it up. This is going with NVIDIA strength is what I'm kind of looking for here. If it's going to fail and rotate down, then we're never going to get triggered, which is good. If it's going to continue up, then we'll get filled. There we are. We're filled. Should be a quick little hit if it's going to keep going. If it's going to be our normal strategy, then we'll be out. Something's telling me that the way NVIDIA is shooting straight up and the S&Ps is kind of helping us out a little bit. Should keep going a little here. You would expect this to go quicker than that. There we go. We're at even. It's a free trade here for me. With these breakouts, I got to be kind of quick with them because I'm not normally a breakout type trader. So there we go. Quick little 300 on that. I'm going to secure $200 on that first trade of the day. And minus fees and a little slippage, I'm at 192. Could have held it a little longer. Like I said, I'm a failed breakout trader, so I'm looking to catch it and get done with it quick. So starting off our week right with a nice quick little win here. And now I'm going to look for my strategy, my excellent A-plus type move at that overnight high failed breakout. Although I could have held this from even and then secured a little bit more on it. But that's okay. Like I said, I'm looking for that quick base hit. I'm not normally a breakout trader, so that to me was just a catch, just purely based on the NVIDIA strength. And if I can get the failure of the overnight high, that's really my let's go, let's get this kind of wick that high, rotate back down setup. I don't want it this previous day high because it's so tight to VWAP, and my targets are normally a mean reversion, so I don't think that the failed breakout is ready. I think technically we could have went candle to candle here and been just fine on that push to the high side. It is 79% long, so that close, that high of a tilt. NVIDIA just ran into that overhead resistance now, so this could start the selling from there and start to roll. So, but you got to see if this is going to hold or if it's going to rotate down. A failure of this opening range low after failing the previous day high could confirm the breakdown. I personally could take this, but like I said, it's just super tight to VWAP, and I don't like that risk to reward, obviously, to let myself be able to do this. This came back down healthy. It wasn't like a push down and then an immediate push right back up. A lot of times you'll see it push in, hold on the low, and then immediately push out if it's going to be the other end. I don't have this. This is all of it. A plus setup wants to be heavy tilt, above a major structure level for me, looking to kind of go with the downtrend. All that delta is a little bit negative compared to how price is trying to act. Russell is starting to creep upside, so there's things that are kind of playing into this. The only thing that's holding me back is the tightness to VWAP. VWAP is acting as support right now, and that big trend line, we're holding above it right now, that short-term trend line. So we are up across two accounts, 192. Can't be mad about that. And now I just look to see if my A+ setup comes in, and I can just kind of risk that little bit that I took on the day. If you are a breakout type person, this break above the previous day high is a little more conducive to following through for me and my ideas than the overnight high breaks. But for the most part, it's just sit on my hands now and wait, because this could wedge out, get to a point where it's going to find a rotation back to the bottom, and I don't want to run in front of it, especially because it's not my normal go-to setup. Sorry for the lawnmowers outside. They are a little loud. So 1 for 1 on the week so far. Pleasant break above, hold. This could be now the failure idea with the S&Ps getting weaker. NVIDIA is selling off. This could roll, but still too tight to VWAP. I would need VWAP to be up over this level since it's so tight for me to take the short. I'm just kind of giving you little minor thoughts about my strategy and whatnot, because really, like I said, my main goal is to get extended from VWAP, extended from the mean, and play a failed breakout, because that's when the failed breaks are more likely. Right now, this could just kind of chop around, just how we did on Friday. With the data that we have coming out this week, there's a chance that today does stay inside. There's a chance that we kind of just dance around like we did on Friday. We do have the manufacturing index at 9:30 today, which will move us a little bit. Then you got tomorrow, you have JOLTS, you have the home prices, and then Wednesday, obviously, Fed rate decision. So a lot of what happens prior to that, because if they get a surprise cut or a hike or something that's opposite of what's it's anticipated, which is nothing. They don't want, people expect nothing to happen from it. We're gonna get some wild movement come into Wednesday. So today and tomorrow, without the data points, you're gonna kind of be just a little bit less likely to break and continue or do wild stuff. So the anticipated inside type or just trending up. This idea of overhead resistance for us would be 2 days ago was the high of the day was 19,390. So up into that 390,400 could be where this price wants to get to reject and then rotate back down through that trend line. So I will be definitely watching my overnight high here, looking to see if I get heavy tilt, get a little bit of capitulation over it. We do have the upper band of VWAP right here. So if we can get up over that upper band of VWAP, up over that overnight high, and then come back down and break that level, it will be a nice, hopefully clean break. NVIDIA is more likely to fail this 116.50 and then rotate back the other direction. However, it could catch a bid all the way up into through the earnings of some of these other names. So let's watch this overnight high, see if we get the setup. I don't think right away, I don't think we're going to get the immediate touch and go, just based on how far off the S&Ps are from that overnight high. That overnight high is all the way up at that blue line, 55.34. We are just breaking out above, which could drive this into that 55.28 previous day high level. And that gives me some pause on the breakout when it does happen on it failing, right? Unless you start to see this turn down really fast. And if I use NVIDIA as my leader, then potentially that could be it. But NVIDIA currently just sitting at that level, looking like it wants to break above Friday's high, which is 116.34. Trying to get over 116.34. We just gave a little tiny wick. I want to get up over it. I want to see a nice break. We are 83% long. So 83% long gives me the thought that if we get through it and into 80, then we're going to dump down and fail. So I need a better setup than just a touch. Although that was a nice quick with the 83% tilt. That is nice. Give me a little one more pop up. Get those 83% longs even more long. NVIDIA is rejecting the 34 level. So right now it's selling. It's kind of in a chop area, so potentially maybe we'll get one more pop out of it. S&P right on VWAP. Maybe it'll give S&P will pop off VWAP, pop into that 20, and we'll see if we can rotate off of that. Good morning, Scrooge. How we doing? We're 1 for 1 currently on our idea here. We're waiting for this to come up, fail this level, and rotate down. Good. I'm glad you got it. I think, like I said, I thought that this was a clean rotation that was a very likely play here to clean up that overnight high once you're up over this failure of a breakdown of the opening range, holding above VWAP, all that fun stuff. Everything here lined up for that break of the previous day high to be the long idea, with NVIDIA still having room to the upside. Now that we're running into resistance on NVIDIA, we will see if this is going to give us our actual entry, if we're going to get a nice push up above or not. Hopefully we can. We'll get a nice wick into 80. Get this tilt back longer. It's 70%. It was at 83% before. It kind of fizzled off. So that could lead to a continuation in this push. I do think up into 400 is a nice, into that 380, 390, that 400 area, in that box would be really nice to come into, retest, and then fail. That's just a thought. It's not a precise level. I think that's kind of just more of a realistic upside, wick, where there would be interesting people sitting on the bid potentially, or sitting on the ask, I should say. I don't see huge size. There's a 38 lot just below, and then I don't see anything overhead that's going to interest me quite yet. Everything below 40 size at 333. We're right at that upper band of VWAP, like I mentioned. That's usually a nice indication of where sellers may want to start to step in, right? We would have liked to have gotten one more push above, or even a bigger push above for the failed breakout type idea. This was a really nice push off that overnight high, and I did mention it. I said I kind of want a little bit more, but the way NVIDIA was running right into that 116.34 level and not breaking it, I didn't quite get my entry idea. Let's see if this will hold. If this holds here, nope. Looks like it's going to give it up. If that gives up, then the roll comes in. But hopefully we can get a little bit more of a bounce, come up in there, and then fail this at the same time this comes into play. But it looks like we're going to miss out on this entry. So good thing we caught that first small little piece of that breakout, and then kind of got stopped on it. And could have took that next little break of this and continued up to the overnight high. But no big deal there. I see NVIDIA having some support right where we're at, which could push us one more time upside. And then if we could get just over the overnight high and still kind of keep this and the S&P down on the lows and lead us to the downside, then maybe we can get that nice hard flush come in and we can time it ideally. I mean, this was really nice. I mean, you never really took any heat on it from 50, basically 58 down to 20. So a nice almost 40 points. Remember, I do not trade within 5 minutes of an hourly close, so I got about 5 more minutes till 9. I also do not, not that I do not. I'm noting that there's a 9:30 number coming out, so we will have a 9:30 number. So watch out for movement around the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index. That's going to be, even though it's not going to be very, huge news, it will move algos around. So just be mindful of that. That's a great short off the overnight high. You could see how reactive our levels are. I mean, every single day, this is going to happen. Something's going to happen around these levels. You just got to be ready for it. For me to be able to limit my risk in the NASDAQ, I need to see manipulation. I need to be able to, get that whip, really trap buyers in at 80, 400. Price does move 20, 30 points through levels before failing them. And that's what I really want to see from me, especially already being up on the day. A nice little bit, not huge, not crazy, but just a nice solid one hour win. I want to see this set up to be ideal, and I want to hammer it, and I want to hammer it when it comes into play. I don't want to just get in just because it touches it, because a lot of times you'll see it'll touch it and run right through, and then you'll get burned, and then you give back money that you didn't necessarily need to give back, right? You want everything to line up for you. Really, the number one thing that lined up for this short right here was the fact that NVIDIA was running right into that 116.30-ish level from Friday. It ran into a seller there on Thursday. It ran into a seller there on Friday. Even Wednesday last week, that's where the sellers initiated. So that's the breakdown point. So right now, we went right into the sell zone for NVIDIA, and we, lined up exactly with the overnight high on NQ. So at the moment, that was the sell indicator and the 83% long, right? Whenever you see that tilt, if you're on Top Step X, you start to see that tilt in any direction, 80+%. That's a good time to start thinking that whoever's in that direction is probably going to be wrong, and they're going to at least going to get it to, come off a little bit. They're going to at least reprieve it some. They're going to pull it back from that level before moving it back the other way. And then you start to see it more and more and more. You just kind of note it over and over and over again. That tilt right here at the bottom of my screen, you'll see it tick up. It was at 70%, 80%, 83%, right in that 50-something range. So once you tick that, that could have been my one little indication to say, hey, maybe we'll short this here. This is a good idea. Let's, be patient, but be aggressive at our level. You can see we held on to that previous day high, still wanting to accept outside of Friday's value. So still holding above Friday's value. This could now push up into and break through, if we're going to go break retest type looking, that could be right up in that overnight high, one more wick above, and then that could come in with that seller, or it can continue on and break out and go beyond 400 and up and continue this, slight upward channel that we got going on here up into 450. 450 is not a terrible area of interest. Yeah, I'd say 450 is not a terrible upside target. And then obviously if you get beyond above 400 up into that 5 and 600s for the week is probably not out of the realm of possibility. Like I said, I don't think that we're going to get a ton of huge moves today because of the lack of huge data, right? Until 9:30, we know I can't trade now. We have 5. I can trade if it comes all the way up, but 30 seconds before it gets up into that overnight high is not going to be likely. This is really nice here for the previous day high breakdown. However, that VWAP is right there. It is support. I would not want to take that initial break of that level personally, just because of VWAP acting as support. Obviously, right now we're 5 minutes or so to the hourly close, so I can't make a trade anyway until the hourly close, for my rules, comes back and opens up, and we can see what happens around 9, and that'll be a nice 30-minute opening range. You can see what's going on with the 30 minutes. Is it going to fail the break of the opening range? Is it going to rotate back down? What's going to happen? So the next 5 minutes is pretty important for me to watch. Every hourly close, I love to just kind of see what happens with the price action, see what the manipulation is within that last 5 minutes. You'll see it break above a key level and then come right back down and hold below. That gives you a really good indication of potentially what's going to go on the rest of the trading session, or at least for our trading session until 11 a.m. This week, once again, should be a full streaming week. I do not have anything that should interfere with the schedule. If I do, I'll let you know. I'll post it on Instagram at Policing Pips or at Day Trading Coffee Co. You can check the stream schedules there. Usually, if you follow them, I'll post if I'm not going to be on. If I don't post and I'm not going to be on, I will be on my normal schedule as with the write-up. So with me waiting, watch this overnight high. If you don't wait for it, that hourly close, then, it's still a fair game. If it pushes up into 400 and starts to rotate back down nice and hard, you could see that overnight high break and then rotation occur back to the overnight low to kind of clean up some of what happened on the overnight. And then when we actually get some data and some news, you can start to see that rally come into play, tomorrow and Wednesday, and then obviously non-farm on Friday. You have larger size 50 lots at 350. So 350 should come in and get tagged to see if they all get filled. Is it dragging price upwards? I'm going to bring up the weekly market analysis here. Every week I post this up in the education. It's pinned to the top of the YouTube. It is right here. Again, in the chat here in the Tradecaster lobby. All of our levels are at the very bottom if you want to get into the weeds of it. Very kind of, showing the trend line, how it was holding. Yeah, obviously we came back, retested it on the overnight, and then have pushed back above it again. And now we tried to break it one more time here. So that's another touch of it. So see what happens if we get a break and a hold, if we get through and down. But all the levels are there. Any sort of news, earnings, reports, just a review of the previous week. It's nothing crazy. I don't go super deep into the weeds because I don't think you need to know as much as a day trader. And if you're trading purely the indexes, you don't need to go as deep into the weeds with every little tiny bit of data. I like to get a broad market idea, and that's what I usually do with that weekly write-up. Some weeks I type up more with the equities and what I see in their charts and where I believe that they'll go, some of the Mag 7 names. But this week is really going to be driven by the red folder events with the Fed on Wednesday and NFP on Friday. So in between, there are some red folder and then, two-star event type days that, like today at 9:30, you'll get some movement because of that number that comes out. I like to get the broad theme of the week, where we're at, what we look like at open on Sunday, and then kind of what price action we have leading into pretty much midnight before I go to bed, right when I'm typing up that report. And just give you the general consensus of what I think is moving the markets for the week ahead. And then, by looking back at the previous week and giving you a little bit of a breakdown of, what happened with price dynamics and understanding, okay, price moved here, moved there, what did it do? Where did it end up? How do we look for the week ahead? That's all you really need to do on your own. If you want to do more or less, it's up to you. But I think encouraging something like that on a Sunday, or, if you don't trade on Monday, somewhere prior to just any sort of sitting down on the computer and looking for trades during the week, it'll give you just that much more of an edge of, if you see it and it comes into play and then you expect it to happen, then that's great. NVIDIA is relatively diverged at the moment. It's not at all at the highs, and the S&P the NQ is at this overnight high. So we could get this thing to start to play along. Delta is making new highs while price is not making new highs. So that's another indication of potentially maybe price wanting to catch up. Wait to see if this thing will start to wick out. Like I said, 80 into 400, that gives me a better indication of Buyers may step in to be tricked into longs, and then that's when the failure of the overnight high could come in, and I could make my, basically this trade would end up being a break even, quick, and then allow it to run out. We made pretty good trade already today. We're 1 for 1 on the week, looking to not execute too many times, but this opportunity was just too good to pass up for that quick little $200 grab. Like, I just wanted to grab it and go, and move on. So now we're able to execute. It's 9 o'clock, so we're free to go with our plan, lining up pretty good for us. I want this and S&P to be up a little higher. I mean, it could even stay right where it's at because of the rejection point there. It doesn't necessarily need to be into those overnight highs or lows, but I would like it to be, even at least in that 55.28 realm. But if we can get a break up close to 400, then the rotation back through my level would be really confirmed a lot better. Almost 80% on the tilt again, so I would not be afraid to kind of get into this if it does rotate down with that heavy tilt. So stop sell here. If that's just going to be a wick and pull back right away, then I'm going to get into it. This is what I like to see. Like, people think, oh man, that looks strong. It looks like it's going to break out. That's exactly the point. I want to see that strong push, maybe on some volume, because that next candle should never pull back. It should just run if it's going to be a real true kind of breakout of the overnight high. We don't have a ton of data from the left, right? I mentioned the high of 2 days ago was 390. So 390 could get right up into that 390, 400, fail, reject, and rotate right back down. So I do like that level. But if it comes right here and tags me in, I want to be involved now, just based on the almost 80% long on the tilt. So I want people to get trapped into being long. If it just wicks me in and wicks me out, then so be it. But I want to be here now for this to fail that level, right? That's kind of just my play. If it wedges out up here, I may front run it because I've just been seeing it happen time and time again where I'm not involved. But I like this. I like this short. There's the heaviness, failed breakout. Let's see if it's now going to fail the breakout or if it's going to continue on upside and actually continue the breakout. If it can get through and down, a little bit lower, then we can get to even. Looks like it's going to break our level. There we go. So now we're flat. Lost that one there. I'm going to take it again. Could have just been a wick out, shake out there. Still want this thing to be, I gave back that quick win, but I am still okay with this thing now pushing up a little bit and then failing one more time. Could have waited for that to fail, but to close, but I like this short still. So I gave back that winner from before, but I think that we can get a much heavier sell here, come through now, fail that level, get through it, then I can get the break even. Damn, that's quick. Come on, fail it. I just get it right above that level. I'm okay with the $30 extra, just above the body of that candle. I don't want to be trapped into it. Come on now, get heavier. Get heavier quicker. This should go faster than this, so I kind of want to be out if I'm wrong. I just want it down to VWAP. That's what I would like. Daddy likes to VWAP. All right, I'm at even. Let's see if we can get this to flush even heavier. There we go. I'll take my $100 back. I need NVIDIA to continue to sell. That'd be nice. Not going too fast here. There we go. Now we're starting to break down. There's the failed breakout. That's why I'm willing to take that secondary shot at it, because I think that now that we have that, we can at least confirm that it's pushing a little bit heavier. If I give back a little bit on this, I'm okay with it to let it kind of go and see. Now I'm going to go right to the top of this body there. So I'm securing 290 on this, 295. Let's see if I can get a little bit deeper. I'm very quick with my trails. I don't, I'm okay with it. Willing to give back a little bit. And we take it out. 261 on that failed break of the overnight high. You can see why I took it the second time around. Very good execution there again. Unfortunately got wicked out on that that first one. So could have been up a little bit more. We took that first little wick here. Could have waited for that next breakdown, but this could have went really quick, really fast. So I'm willing to hold off on locking this out because we may get another push up into 400, and then that'll be a nice little breakdown as well. So I like that for the levels currently. Go bodies on these candles here. There we go. So really, once, twice, could have hammered it and been just fine. Took this long here. We got wicked out. We're confident on our setup enough to say we could take this short and understand that we can pull back all the way in. Oh, you did dumb shit. Don't do dumb shit. That's what we don't do here. We don't do dumb shit. We stick to our plan, and then whatever happens from it, right? I'm okay with that wick out there because I understand I can get back in if I need to. I didn't panic. I didn't revenge back in. I understood the dynamics of my setup and what I could even do. Hopefully, you're all right. You're still up. FOMO to re-enter on the drop, and it popped back up for down 200. So are you even now, basically, or just down a little bit? Or down more, down 200. Okay. Listen, just wait. Be patient. Let this thing get up over 400, into that 390, 400 range. If it comes back down again and tries to break through this overnight high, then you know that, hey, man, maybe this is going to be a true break, or maybe it's going to be a breakout, retest, and continue on all the way up into the other side of this channel, right? We do have all the way up right here, all the way up into the top of the channel. So if you're going to, I got in and I re-entered, right? I got wicked in and then wicked out. Normally, I would like to get a little bit below the bodies of this previous break, but not that I was front running. I was really trying to get as much out of this overnight high breakdown as possible. Clearly, we did not, we got wicked in, cleaned up, got taken out. But once that secondary push and didn't hold, and you're going to get that breakdown, then you get at least that full 20-point move there. And then from beyond that 20-point move, you really want to see that thing to go quickly. So if you don't get it right after that, like that secondary breakdown, you got to be a little more patient, right? You don't want to get caught with your pants down lower, and then have it pop up like it did on you, right? It's just kind of honing in the strategy. You're just fine. I don't think that was too much of dumb shit. I think that's just not being quick enough or being too quick, depending on your mental game. You can definitely make this back. I don't see why this won't go back to VWAP, honestly, but I'm a little bit away from where I want to just hammer into this. I wanted to see this get back up a little bit again and then come back, but there's that heaviness again. Every single day, it comes to these overnight highs, it comes to these previous day highs, it comes to these overnight lows, and you get an opportunity where there's going to be reactive movement in the market. You don't have to catch giant moves to be successful day in and day out. Did I want to have this whole piece? Absolutely. I think that this is really more of my trade here, and I would have been able to catch this had I not been wicked out that first time, right? If I would have gave it a little bit more breath, if I had a little bit more wiggle room to try and catch this to break through here, and if I didn't take that secondary, that wick, if this move happened fast, sometimes it happens right away, right? And I catch the whole thing. Sometimes it pulls back and stops me out. That's okay. It's part of my plan, right? Normally, I like to see this thing go quickly, just kind of like how it did right there, where you go from, if you take that breakdown, that 48 straight down to the bottom end here at 308, you're basically catching 40 points in less than a minute. And you're able to kind of trail out quick, take your little piece. What are you going to do with, it's great to be able to hold long and be, greedy with it. But the way that the NASDAQ has been reacting of late, you're not getting those really huge follow-throughs. And when I say of late, I mean like within the last few months. It does seem like markets are changing a bit. As we approach the election, as we approach the end of the summer, with some of these news headlines, with the rate cut decision potentially for September, all these things coming into play, the closer we get to it, it seems like some of these moves tend to kind of be a little bit more expensive, giving you a little more follow through, right? I went through a phase early this year where I was able to get into trades, add to winners, and then get a little more follow through on them. And then I started running into the issue where my ads were coming into play, where I should have been taking profits, and I'd be pulling back because I'm not getting the same kind of follow through on moves that I was getting, in January and February, right? So you have to understand when the market does certain things, when it starts to want to expand its price, when it wants to not do as big of moves, when you're going to get follow through, when you're not. But you got to, give it like a couple days to be like, okay, now we're starting to see follow through. Now we're starting to see our levels, rotate through and give you the full rotation, right? I'm going to note this. It's Monday, right? I already made basically $500 in under 30 minutes, because I'm copying this across 2 accounts here. I didn't make any trades on the 100K, but we did make a copy trade there, 260 across the 2 accounts. Can't be mad about that, moving into the rest of the week. If we rotate all the way down into overnight lows, then I'll be interested in looking to see what happens down there. We are still technically in a big downtrend. This is a temporary stop at the, that downtrend movement, and we're in a short-term uptrend area. However, we are still holding that uptrend. This VWAP is still strong. We're still above VWAP at the previous day high. So could this flush here and then pop right back above it? It could, and then rotate back higher. Or it could break and crack. But I think having VWAP right here is just a little dangerous for any sort of entry for me to be playing continuation through previous day high. It's also the top of the opening range. I think that there's a lot of support in that kind of area. And if you look at this trend line here, yes, we could crack that and start to rotate all the way back down again, which would be nice. However, like I said, I'm not looking to chase it after, being up 200, being even, then now being up, 260 something. Because I made 300 on that trade. I was down like $35, right? So I made 295 on that previous trade. And then I was down 30 something. So yeah, we're up 260 on 2 accounts here. Already pretty good. Could try the short through here with the 100K account, but I'm not looking to just do it just to do it. I want there to be a real reason to start to get into these shorts. Russell's still ticking downside, which does give me the thought that maybe the S&P is going to still be diverged and the NQ is still going to be slightly diverged and rotate up with it. Nvidia is selling off, but right into a support level. So I don't know if I trust the first breakdown here because it does have support at 114.40 to 50. So we're right there and it just broke it. Is it going to be just a wick or is it going to be a full-on break, right? You can see nice little break of that previous day high. Good, strong move. Is it going to be a failed breakdown, rotate back up to highs? It's a wait and see, but we did just crack that trend line to the downside. It's not like a perfect trend line because there is a zone there. And this whole part acted as a wick through that trend. So if we get back above it, could be another wick at that bottom end of that trend, grabbing some orders and rotating back higher. Tilt is 50-50. Delta is acting the same as price, right? Pushed up, come back, pull back, and now you're getting heavy price action, heavy delta. Everything's kind of in line. So that was a nice break at that previous time. I mean, I did mention that it does seem like a good area for it, but also having VWAP right there doesn't give me the confidence that it won't just manipulate through and rotate higher. But that was really, really a nice push up to overnight highs. And I mean, look at that opportunity that you have right there for a great risk to reward on a Monday. Monday's been providing us really good trade opportunities. I could have made a lot more on this today if I gave that third entry one more shot. I did not. Just didn't trust it at the way Nvidia was not quite where we needed it to be. And the S&Ps wasn't all the way up. There's some divergence there where I wasn't quite certain on this to be the play all the way through on the third attempt, right? I wanted this to push up higher for it to be more of a failure. But to see that it held really nice short through that trend crack, you could have took this with very little heat, broke even, and then rotated all the way down. So there are opportunities here. As I mentioned, cautious on a Monday for me. We are going to get a number here in 15 minutes. So be mindful of that number. Understand that it is coming out, that you will get some movement on it. Previously, the manufacturing index was a negative 15.1. They're anticipating another negative 12. If it comes out positive, maybe you get an algo spike. If it comes out, a lot better than expected or a lot worse than expected, just watch what happens with the way price gets loose on the dome, right? You'll start to see, even if you don't have level twos, I don't have level twos on my Top Step X. I have it on here, so you can start to see the depth of the market start to get very, very loose as we approach that number. It's not going to get super loose yet, but it's going to start to thin out a whole lot. And by thinning out, I mean just you'll see it. There's not going to be a ton of orders out there. The big players are going to just disappear. They don't want to get manipulated by the craziness of that news number. And then once it finishes up, then it'll settle back in, right? So we'll as we start to see that happening, I'll note it for you, and we'll go from there. But already, a good day, another qualifying day towards payout. Something that I've been less focused on lately. I think in the past, focusing on very specific targets got me into some trouble. Maybe it did, not so much in this one, right? Because I could have left my risk at that high, but this could have easily bounced, rotated, and made new highs and cleaned me out. So why not just take my quick $300 trade and look for that next one? Really should have been a little bit more aggressive on this entry here. Obviously, in hindsight, it looks great, but that's just the true move down to the VWAP, right? That was, worst case scenario, you're at VWAP. Best case scenario, you're at rarely where we are at now. Yep. So look for this to be maybe a whip through that opening range low, and then with this 930 number to push us back through the previous day highs. Still hasn't quite cleaned up, the overnight levels. There's that immediate push up. We did kind of, not that we gapped in and go, right? The gap would be, if we closed markets right here at 1500 close was 173.75. So right there, basically gap up over it, gap up this entire thing over the highs from this does lead to that push up. It's not a gap in the fact that it didn't, price didn't get filled down there. It's a gap that from close yesterday to open today, it's opening higher than where we closed. So there's a gap up, if you will. If this were to be equities, that's, you would see the gaps, right? You'd see this how with the NVIDIA, disregard this, but you close here and you open up here, that is a gap between here and here, right? That's technically a gap open. If you got rid of the pre and post market hours, that would show that you pushed here to there. If you go to a daily, you'll see the daily gaps. You can see them gap. You see them all over the place, but with the pre-market trading, you don't see that as much. You'll see it a little bit here, but you don't see it as much because there's actual trades going on during those hours. So stop yourself from doing dumb shit. And by not doing dumb shit, I mean, maybe if you get into some sort of trade where you're confident in whatever your setup is, do it. If you're already in, manage it, but understand that 930 number could manipulate. And with the, not only with the manipulation as far as like, let's say the algos, right? When you're in this type of trade, right? Let's say you're in long here at the low at 19,240, just above it. We'll call it, you're in at 254, your stop's at 240. You're in the money, and now as we approach the 930 number, you start to see the level 2 and the spread get really weird, right? It starts to expand out. I'll show you on here, right? You can see how tight it is right now. We're at 77, 878, right? Like it's a couple ticks, no big deal. What you'll start to notice as you get closer to that number, this red box will be up here, and the green box will be down here. The bid ask is, a couple points, and then one of them gets filled, so price will just jump down. And it's not necessarily because they're manipulating the markets or anything. It's just because orders just disappeared off the book and it's seeking price discovery. And if somebody's willing to fill on the market, they think, hey, oh man, last fill was here at 81. I could hit the market. If you hit the market order, that's going to show you down here, at 88, 89. So when you're in a live market, you really need to understand that you got to watch where the bid and the ask are at. And if it starts to get really wide, if it starts to get, very whippy, you're going to get really bad fills if you are doing things, very close to that number. And that's going to, people are a little tricked by some of the funding company stuff and whatnot. So don't fall for the trap of, just hitting a market order because you see something happening right up into the number, because technically the price on the chart is only displaying last fill. The level 2 is actually showing the current orders on the books. So just note that and be mindful of it. I'm not going to be executing anything until after the 9:30 number. So just understand that. If you don't see me hitting anything, let me know. Good morning, Green. Catch the big move to me is risky because it reverses and leaves you in drawdown or a break even at the most of the time. There's lower probability to catch it, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, like I said, I want these big moves to happen, right? And I want to be able to time those bigger moves. But I'm really okay with catching my small little pieces of it because I'm able to just limit my risk completely, right? On this move here, yeah, I got wicked in and wicked out, but I understood that my setup was still valid, so I was able to re-enter into this to rotate it back down. When I'm right and it goes and I'm going to hit that home run, it's just going to do this part without the retest. So I'll catch it that time. This time I got stopped out. That's okay. I'm fine with that because at least having this heaviness allows me to limit my risk and I can just catch as much of the move as I can and just be content that I managed it to the best of my ability according to my plan without getting like crazy greedy where, the times where you get greedy, where you see it come in and you retest and you move your stop back above and then it comes back and then it comes back in and you move your stop back to even. And then, this could have easily just been a chop all along that overnight high and then a bit of breakout. And then you trick yourself into believing things instead of allowing the market to tell you, okay, we're ready to go. We're going to move now. We're moving. Take as much as you can out of this. If you can't catch the whole thing, it's okay. I think a lot of people fall into the trap of allowing, some people just do the set and forget and it works for them and great. I'm not going to knock it. But, if you set and forget this, I want to play the overnight high to the overnight low, or at least, I want to play the overnight high failed breakout to this 19,221. And they don't trail their stop. They allow it to be a full risk to reward. And if they hit off on their profit, they hit off on their profit. If not, they get stopped out for a full loser when you could have taken 3/4 of your profit here or more, right? And trailed out and been out at, we'll say 19,260. If you caught as much of that move as you possibly could, realistically, that 260 number is probably where you ended up getting stopped out, 260, 261, right? You get stopped out there, and at least you take most of that winner, and you took what was given to you, and then you move on. For me, I only caught, that 20 piece. I caught basically a $300 little move right there, and I'm okay with that because I understood that easily with that bounce could have rotated us out. I wanted this to be up higher for me to take my rejection again, and I didn't get that. So I didn't get the entry. I'm not going to fear that missing of this because it just is what it is. I didn't get it. It's fine. I'm not red. I'm up on a good day on a Monday, starting my week off right again, up $500 across 2 accounts. Be okay with taking your base hits because when this is going to come and when it goes right away, then you catch the whole thing and you don't, you move on. For me, if I were to leave these big try and runners on, especially like I just said, the market conditions have been weird with the follow through of late. The last couple days we've gotten breakdowns and follow through to the downside. But other than that, you haven't got that good follow through without clearly grabbing a bunch of orders and stopping people out and then running it the other way. Like there's a lot less like really good, long, clean moves. So just catch your small pieces, be content with it. If it runs further, it runs further. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not a big deal. So that's my little rant on that. We are back up over the previous day high into consolidated zone. NVIDIA pulled back once again into the 114.50 and bounced and is now trying to see what happens around 115. This could break down here. Still right on VWAP. Still not ideal. If I wanted this to, if I want to short this previous day high level, for it to be a nice clean breakdown. For me personally, I wanted to be the VWAP to be up over it to confirm, okay, we're through VWAP, check, we're through a level, check, and now we're going to rotate out. I also don't like the opening range being there. It likes to act as support. This could just be manipulation of the opening range, trap some longs, stop them out, and then get long and continue on the rest of the session. We do have up to 400, and like I said, all beyond. I mean, all the way up into 610 is that real next clean area. Like if you break through 398 up and through the 400s, you don't have much resistance on the way up, and on the way down, kind of just ripped right through those levels. Maybe 540, 550 is a good area. Stream is showing NVIDIA. All right, I'll switch back to the chart. I haven't been really talking about anything anyway, so good. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Scott, for the interaction. Did it switch back? Yes, it did. So we took 3 trades so far. We took the long through the previous day low, previous day high right here. Took that long right there. And I took a really quick $200 winner on that. Could have, waited for that and took it again, caught more of it, but that's not my play. This was purely based on the way NVIDIA was acting, purely based on the squeeze through the previous day high to kind of just catch a little piece and move. We took this short here, not the first touch. We did not get an entry on the first touch. We took this short right there. Got stopped. We got wicked in, stopped out. Valid setup still. So we took that secondary move and took $300 off the table. So basically, right here, right now, up 260 across 2 accounts, copy traded. So we're just over 500, 520-ish on the day. You can see once, twice, 261, and then the 100K still no trades for the day. So maybe I'll look to the next 4 minutes, see what happens. I'm not executing anything here until that number is released here at 9:30. Where are we at? 9:30 a.m. Dallas Fed. It's not a super important number, but it is something that will move us around a little bit. You'll start to see the thinning of the market. You'll start to see level 2s get funky. Every minute we get closer to that, you're going to start to see this spread go. You're going to start to see, less orders on the book. Maybe a large order may appear far off in the distance, but I don't think anything's going to come right on the jump. That 1 minute right prior, I'm going to leave this up and see if it'll come and show. I'll say, there you can start to see it starting to spread out. 4 or 5 ticks, a whole point. Tightens back up. We are at VWAP. We are at an overnight high, so there is still a lot of interest at this level. So, potentially the whippiness may not get crazy because it isn't like a huge number, but it is going to show on the book. Can't be mad at you. What's going on over here? Trading like this is stressful. The price moves so fast. Might need to roll down to micro so I don't feel that way when I enter and see the 9-200. Yeah, I would always recommend, especially for newer, you haven't passed the combine yet. You can see right now the way price is speeding up. You can see orders are speeding up. It's getting faster. Price is moving a little bit. I just want to explain this first before I go back to you, Carl, Scrooge. I want to see how price is, being... the order book gets really, really light and really, really thin, and you start to see those orders go. I'm going to get back to your statement in a second. The size shows up and disappears. Shows up, disappears. So there's stuff going on here. 1 minute and 30 seconds until this number. You can see 79.80. You start to see this spread go bop, bop, like a spreads come back, spreads come back, spreads come back. The seconds leading into that number release, you'll start to see it more. And then you're going to start to see this thing go up and down. And then, whichever direction it chooses, then you'll maybe see. Russell is really getting heavy. So potentially, if it doesn't find support here at 22.65, the money may start to flow into large caps, or you might start to see money flow out of the market completely and into safety depending on what's going on with the Fed rate cut, depending on the geopolitical sentiment, all that fun stuff. But you can now start to see the spreads getting a little wider. Price, you can see price action speeding up. We're 30 seconds away from the number. Just very limited orders on the book. You got one size up here that's a little bit bigger. There it is. 25 seconds. Pushing up pre-number. I like to note what it does right before like one of these releases comes out. And like I said, this isn't a huge number. It could do nothing. It could just be a little small blip. But it is something that could maneuver the price in a way that you might not have seen to be necessary. Nothing crazy. A little bit of whippy action right into VWAP. I haven't got an alert saying that it came down yet. It did not come out yet. For me. Bouncy, 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 bouncy. Usually I'll get a little bit of an alert when it pops. I don't know if it's late or if my computer's just not showing it yet. Negative 17 and a half. So much less than, there's that movement a little bit. Nothing crazy. No. Nothing crazy. It is negative though. So watch this kind of bounce around a little bit for the next minute or so. And then kind of move on. Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index. Like I said, it's nothing that's going to really manipulate anything, but it's just a number to be mindful of because it could have come and done some wild stuff and moved us out. So now that it is negative, the push down may come in. What that number tells everybody is it's the United States decreased to 17.5 points from July from 15.10 points in June. It is the United States average is 0.76 points. So it's usually positive. Normally, it just shows the production of the country. And right now it's a little bit negative. If I look for something, I think I'm going to look forward on the 100K. We're going to go to our performance board here, and we have now crept over that $2,500 mark on both accounts, the follower and the leader. So we have now secured another couple $100 here today, right? Continuing that green streak on stream. I will look for another good trade here today, but I'm going to see what happens with this. I think I'm going to head and probably going to go and lock out this account. So these two accounts are going to get locked out. Yes, lock me out. So that means I got my trade, I secured my money for the morning, and now I'm going to look to see if I can catch something on the 100K. For now, we're just going to lay here, and I'm going to go back to Scrooge's sentence here. So Scrooge went and said, trading like this is stressful. The price moves so fast. I might need to roll down to micros so I don't feel that way when I enter and see the minus 200 come in moments after I enter. So there's two trains of thought here on the approach to trading futures, learning, understanding, and passing these combines, all that fun stuff. You could either go over to ES. The S&Ps is a lot thicker. It moves a lot slower. Yes, it is more expensive per tick, so $12.50 per tick. You will still see the similar, dollar amounts come into play. They won't happen as quickly. You won't be in and out immediately, more than likely on most of these trades. Or you go into, like Scrooge said, and go into the micros. I do believe it's a better way to go about things if you can handle the smaller wins to start out and understand the dynamics and build your account and do what you want to do when it comes to that. I switch back and forth to micros here and there when maybe if I'm on drawdown or if I want just things, if maybe I'm not seeing the market great, scaling back is a really good way to go. When you eventually feel comfortable enough or you have a big enough buffer to trade the full size, then trade the full size. And I'm talking about just one contract. People think, oh, I can't make a lot of money trading. I need to trade all these contracts. Like some of these people that you see on social media, they're trading 10, 20 contracts. I mean, that's not realistic in these account sizes. That's a recipe to blow up. It's a recipe for like unreasonable stress in a trade. If you want to be able to hold something like this a little longer, go to half size, go to 5 micros. If you want to risk $200 instead of risking, if you risk 5 micros, that's a half a position size. You could double your risk technically and ticks, and then you won't get immediately, soaked up if you don't time it correctly. Much of what I do is all about timing, so I'm comfortable risking the full mini because I understand that I could I could lose it really quickly, but I know I'm wrong very fast, and I could be right very fast, and I like to time it to where I'm right very quickly so that I don't really have that the necessity right now to go into the micros. But I do see why, especially if you're not ready for this like big swing. I've passed combines trading only 2 micros. So it's possible to trade 2 micros a day, make a couple $100 and just move on. You'll let your positions move a little longer. You'll hold them a little bit better because you'll have the less stress in the trade. So Scrooge, absolutely. If that's something that you need to do to kind of get your mindset right, to don't do dumb shit, the DDDS, you will do a lot better if you can just feel a little bit of that pressure off. You don't need to trade a full NASDAQ micro. And I technically don't really recommend NASDAQ to people who haven't traded for a little bit longer of a period of time, because there is a lot of manipulation that goes on within that NASDAQ, and kind of just understanding that and seeing that, okay, I do call out specific levels here, overnight highs, previous day highs. I use those levels, but they are technically decent sized zones because as NQ runs through levels, 20, 30 points, 40 points sometimes before failing. And that's the difference between, getting stopped out and then it going your direction, or, making pretty good money on a breakout that technically is, a failed breakout, right? So there's opportunity there, but you have to really understand the speed of it, the dynamic of it, what's going to be manipulating, what's going to manipulate it, what certain numbers do to it. There's a lot of little nuance to the NASDAQ as opposed to say like the S&Ps where it kind of hits off on these levels. And if it's going to respect it, it usually will turn around pretty quick. If not, the manipulation through a level is a lot less likely to be much deeper, right? A full pull through, all the way down is not going to be 10, 20, 30 points. It's going to be, 4 or 5 points. It's not going to be as deep. So you're able to kind of really limit your risk on the other end of it. You say, oh, I'm going to set my stop above the high of the day, because usually if the S&P is going to break that high of the day, it's going to break and continue on and go. And when it comes to, certain levels in the S&P, you can really respect them more. So Scrooge, if you got to do it, if you want to, be successful, I always recommend people scale down into the S&P and then even go into the micro S&P. The MES, MNQs are good for if you want to stick with the NASDAQ and understand the behaviors of it. But also understand that if you don't respect the NASDAQ, it's going to just disrespect you all day. It's just going to treat you like a little rag doll. So we have secured 260 across 2 accounts, a nice little 522, 523 on the day. And now I'm just going to look for a trade for the 100K. Maybe the rest of this session, we'll try and find one more. Got to get to a level though. Can't be diddling in the middle here, right? Opening range, this is kind of what happened on Friday. At least today we got to an overnight high, so we were able to execute on it. Friday we got nothing all the way till 11:15, and I finally got $100 out of it, which is great. I'm fine to sit here all day and not click a button. I could have made zero like on Wednesday last week. We just didn't take any trades. There was just nothing for me, and the opportunity that I could have taken, I may have missed, right? So overall, I think we're doing a really good job of just waiting for our levels, letting things kind of set up for us, and I think that they do mandatory apartment inspections on my apartment like once a month, and I feel like that's more than normal. I think they're trying to catch people doing stuff. Not me. Hey, bud. Thanks for the water. Want to say hi? Come say hi.
Hi.
You got to come all the way over. You got to get in the camera. There we go. Right there.
What's this?
That's the top of a USB.
USB.
Say hi.
Hiya.
Over here. There you are.
Hi.
Get that hair out of your face. No, this is Enzo, right? You're Enzo.
Yeah.
Maximus is a little smaller and a little more crazy. Yeah, he'll yell in the mic. All right, Lorenzo, you go have a good day, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
I'll see you in a little while.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank you for the water. You didn't close the door. How dare you, Scott? Not know everybody. I'm just messing with you, buddy. Probably just gonna be patient here. Let this thing do its little dance. Let's see. I'm nervous about Gladiator 2, to be honest with you, just because Gladiator 1 is like my favorite movie of all time, and I mean, technically I named my son Maximus, so there is an indication that it may have been one of my favorite movies ever. But you know, it's like I've never watched this. Yeah, I've never watched the second Space Jam, only because I don't want to watch LeBron be Michael Jordan. Like, why did he have to do that? I kind of understand where they were going with it and to make money, but I never watched the second Space Jam, and I don't want to really ruin my. I'm gonna take this. If I can see, technically tilt a little bit lower. I don't want that. We're right on VWAP. I'm gonna wait. I don't like to execute on VWAP. Yeah, it does look great. It looks great, and with the new CGI and all that stuff, I'm gonna have to see it. Right, I can't not see. And I'm sure they'll do like nice nods to Maximus and doing the whole deal, and it'll be a really good. I'm sure it'll be a really good movie, to be honest. You know, that is Pedro Pascal. Maybe he'll throw a little Mandalorian in there, but it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be good, but I am cautious to say that it's gonna overtake the original. I think we also need to get into the thought process of like every movie is its own, right? You know, it's not necessarily gonna live up to the standards of the previous one, but maybe it'll tell more of the story. It'll give you a little more depth to it. Hopefully they don't go woke with it and fucking ruin it, because I don't need that. I don't. Maybe they'll make it just a nice, good, clean warrior film. Just nice, you know. That's all. I want this short. However, it's on the VWAP. It's still, the VWAP has yet to do its thing and get above this previous day high. What did I say? It's 9,297. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. Just gonna be patient. You know, we do have a. Let's see. Is this? It's a 30 lot. Nothing huge on the book. Up above 30s, you know, just algos. Nothing I'm interested in yet. If we get back to that overnight high, we'll see what happens with it. Like I mentioned, if we can get up into that 400 and then rotate back down, I think with the numbers coming out this week, then inside days are more likely until that comes out. Like I said, once the Fed rate hold, the likely rate hold, you know, and they'll probably, you know, guide on, you know, making that choice in September with the rate cut. So we'll see what happens with that. But, you know, we failed this once, twice. Now we're pushing back above it. S&P's holding down that low. Still below VWAP. NVIDIA trying to hold this pre-market high. 114, we'll call it 114.50. I mean, it's lingering right here. If it gives up that low, then potentially this does give up as well. Maybe I'd trade the NVIDIA chart with the NQ. %71 tilt. I would, really like this to be up higher. We are holding that trend line once again with 3 30-minute wicks. Once, twice. Now this is another 30-minute wick down. Could that lead to that long side? This accumulation on the bottom. It's kind of what happened on Friday. 3-4 candles of wicking below a level, and then they got the buy side pressure right into the high, which is right where we're at now, which, caught some selling. But then the pre-market today, overnight, pushed us up over that previous day high. And now, obviously, we opened just below it and then creeped above it. We're kind of messing around with that level. Could lead to that next leg up into that key zone and then fail that. That's kind of what I'm looking at here. Doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the case again, but it's just doing a really good job of holding up over this 300. And I'm not going to play it long. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to still look to get a short somewhere for the, maybe unless we get up over the overnight high retest and start to run, then maybe that's a good long opportunity there for that 100K account. But, I don't know for sure. This is a nice breakdown, nice, really clean breakdown here. Being up on the day allows me to be a lot more picky. I'm not so mad about just sitting on my hands the rest of the day. If I don't get a trade for the 100K, then I don't get a trade for it. You can see that strength kind of pushing into there. Just kind of mentioning about the way it's holding that 30-minute trend line to the upside. I didn't think its timing was quite done yet. We never quite cleaned up the high from 2 days ago. Still got to get up closer to 390. Strong delta push. Nice little breakup. Value area high is currently 325. That's getting heavy and then nothing. Heavy and then nothing. 28. They're flashing like 30s and 20s up above at like 335. This did look nice for that. Like I said, it's holding VWAP, holding the previous day high, holding 300, holding that trend line, like a lot of confluence on that high side. As NVIDIA is holding 114.50, so it hasn't quite broke down totally yet. If it breaks up and starts to squeeze over 115, then that's when you probably get NASDAQ to push. So if you can go and see this, right? If you can get this NVIDIA to squeeze over this congestion here, this 115, then that possibly puts us back to high of day, which would then, you can see on our chart here, if you look at this short-term uptrend, we're still trying to hold that, right? We're still trying to hold that level. It's very, it's doing a good job. Wick. Could rotate up into that yellow dotted line there and then make a decision to rotate down. But like I said, to come back and support this until we get up into the top end of the channel, which was very reactive before here, up here, right? So that channel is reactive, which kind of puts us in line with if we go straight up right at the 610, if we kind of false break of it up into that 610 for another sell side position down through that trend. But that's just going to be a wait and see if we get to that area or not. Does that make sense? Trying to give up 300 again. The long ideas Still strong, although that manipulation up there is nice. I like that wick. I like that heaviness. That was a really nice breakdown, actually. 75% long was a really good indication that it was going to sell off. Like I mentioned, I'm just not ready to short that level right on that area based on the support it was showing. Now that we're starting to show a little bit more weakness, you can see what goes on here. I mean, S&P is also showing it. It was NVIDIA breaking through that 114.50 that really gave this that final ability to push down. So kind of looking through other things, it made a lot of sense. It's kind of easy to keep track of the levels once you do it so much, because I don't really care about things that are extended away. I use really, right? I look at, so I guess I do. I keep track of a lot of levels, but they're on my trading view. So using my trading view for like levels, and it really, I mean, I'm just eyeballing them, just giving you the, this when I switch screen, all three of these charts, the NASDAQ long-term trading view, NVIDIA is on the same window, and my top step back. So this is all one monitor, and I kind of just switch the views across the monitor like this, and this, like they're all on one monitor. But eyeballing my levels, I just kind of look to it, and I just see where these levels are reactive, what are they doing at those levels. And what kind of reaction will you have around them is just kind of a wait and see. And if trading is simple if you're patient and you let it just show you what it's going to do. And especially if I'm not actually executing on, like say Microsoft or NVIDIA or the other names, and I'm just using those things to execute on the NASDAQ, all I'm looking for is some assistance in my move at a key level to get to where I'm going. So with Microsoft, I have these levels here that are a little older, but you can see we breaking down here through the pre-market support. And honestly, I didn't draw these today. They were already out there from the highs and stuff. So technically, old levels acting reactive again. The pre-market stayed in between those that zone. It was reactive. So now that we're holding below it, does that mean that we'll kind of come down and completely close this gap again, rotate to lows on Friday? That's what kind of dynamics I look for in the equities charts, if that makes some sense. So Microsoft, I look for NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been the number one name. It's been the leader of these charts. We're directly correlated to the NVIDIA chart in NASDAQ. If you start to see divergence from it, then potentially you will get a little bit of indication of, okay, let's look for some other name, right? Like look for Apple. Is Apple going to start to take the lead? Is Microsoft going to take the lead? Those are the three names that are going to be the heaviest weighted into it. Yes, Tesla. Yes, Google. Like some of these names, when they do report earnings, they're gonna manipulate the NASDAQ a bit because they're actually moving and the other ones are just staying still. So if you think of this as a big basket of names, it's 100 names. And if one of the names is doing way more than the rest, then it's going to drag it out, right? And then also if all of them act together, then it's going to start to go up. If some of them are going down, some of them are going up, then you probably see a flat price action in the equities, the indexes, right? So if you just think of it that way, if you got a basket of 100 stocks, but it's the most heavily weighted are the top 7 names. They're 33. They weigh out 33%. So if you get those heavier weighted names to all do the same thing in one direction, they're all going to be bid up, then you're going to likely see this go up. If you could see Tesla going up and NVIDIA going down, but NVIDIA is heavier weighted, then price is probably going to go down a little, but stay flat. If things are staying flat, then you'll definitely see this go flat. But understand that that's what's causing a lot of this expansion or contraction. Is if you don't know that this is a basket of names, then you're never going to understand, how this is going to move compared to some of those other names. Like those other names, in theory, these are separate instruments, but in reality, this is a futures contract for what is believed to happen to all these names in the future. And the future is not that far away. This is a September contract. So, noting that is good. NVIDIA did give up that level and it is getting heavier. So maybe a retest up into here gives you a good short opportunity, but this S&P is running right into that overnight low. right here. So we could see some bounce from that low. You can see right there, that's that overnight low. As I mentioned, I locked out after taking those trades from my overnight high. Unlikely to get another really good A-plus setup for this account, for these two accounts. So I'm cool with locking that out. I am looking for a trade on the 100K, and I believe that that was it right there. And I didn't trust this right there because of the VWAP and the way it was acting supportive and the wicks that we were showing on that longer, shorter term uptrend, right? But this is now looking nice and heavy. NVIDIA is cracking lows, finding pre-market support right here. So could be the manipulation down to rotate the the NQs back up. This is that wedge that we look for usually at key levels, right? A lower, like tightening up of price action, drifting away from where you want that break to happen back to the other direction. And then once the bottom of that breaks out or the top of it breaks out, that's usually when you'll start to get a reactive price action. I usually look for this, down at overnight lows or the reverse of it on the overnight highs, right? I look for that creeping price action. I guess it's called a rising wedge or whatever you want to call it. That's kind of what I look for at those levels. Yeah, that's it right now. Do think we're going to be, the short still played from the high. Everything pointed to this being the right trade. That's why I took it. That's why I took it twice. Didn't give it enough breathing room the first go around. And technically, I probably should have not got triggered. I should have had my entry. Usually how I work this is I'll put my entry just below the bodies of the previous breakout, that area. I think I still would have got tickled in, and I probably would have just, whatever. Secondary, really just trying to play the breakdown of that overnight high. So wicked in, wicked out, all good, no worries. Valid setup still, took it, grabbed my $300 and ran. Now we're looking to see what we can catch. I didn't re-enter that third time after catching my little bit of the first piece of that move. And then there's that actual really nice, clean move from the overnight high. Looking to kind of maybe make that full rotation, cleaning up all the overnight levels on a Monday seems to be, what it likes to do to kind of clean up whatever happened on the weekend, get really good market participation and do it during market hours. If you're on YouTube, click the like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that fun stuff. If you're on Tradecaster, do me a favor, leave me that 5-star review when you get off of, or whenever it does ask you that. I don't know how that works as much. So because I don't rate myself on Tradecaster, all I ask is that if you have any questions, type them in the chat. If you have comments, concerns, anything that you want me to go over, I really like to just try to be helpful as much as I can. I don't execute a whole lot during the day. I try to show that discipline and, patience will allow you the ability to figure out your setups a lot cleaner. It'll allow you to get reaction and be right or wrong pretty quickly so you can know what you're going to do for the day. Like I said, last week, Wednesday and Friday, price action just didn't play with us to where we wanted to execute, and we just didn't. So some days I'll be on stream here all day and execute 0 trades. Some days like today, executed pretty early, got up, did 2 more executions, and now we're back up to 260. We're copy trading across a couple of accounts. So like I said, I'm not looking to go crazy, hit, home run after home run. I'm looking to catch my little pieces and move on with my day. And just show consistency, allow you to see how you can make good money in a month by just taking your shots at your level and being very patient. Over trading is the death of pretty much every single trader. It's been my issue where you just go on tilt, you get into FOMO, you go on tilt, you get into revenge mode where you take a loser at a level maybe where you didn't want to. Let's go with this trade, for instance, right? It wasn't, I would never consider what I took here a revenge trade because the setup was still valid. Everything about it was valid. I just got wicked in and wicked out, and maybe I just didn't time it precisely, and so I was able to get in and do it again. if I were to have gotten stopped again and it's like running to highs and I'm like, all right, I'm going to chase the high up here up into 4 and I'm going to short that and then I'm going to get run over and run over and run over. That's when you start to get that revenge, that tilt. So to avoid that tilt and to avoid that the revenge and all that stuff, I want you to, if you have Top Step X, set up a personal daily loss limit that's half. This is a 100K account. I'm able to lose $2,000 in a day if I really wanted to, but I don't want to do that. So I set it to $500. If I lose $500 in a day, it means I took 2 full losers right away. Yeah, you need to work on that, Scott. Absolutely. That is the definition of revenge trading. That is the definition of what's going to get you from passing these accounts, from getting payouts, from doing all the things that's going to make you consistently profitable. It's not hard. I'm going to retract that statement. It's very hard to stay consistent and be in your head looking at these charts all day thinking I can make money on this, I can make money on that, I can make money on this. Like right now I really could have took that short here and been like, oh my God, I really should have took it. I was talking about it, I didn't take it. I'm going to chase it here. I'm going to chase it here. I'm going to get into it. Right? I can make that money back. You never had that money. That money was never yours. If you didn't take that trade, you didn't get it. That's it. Just move on. Look for the next A+ setup that you believe is going to work. And then go from there, right? If I get a nice setup here on the overnight low, if I get a flush of the overnight low, get my setup, I'm going to take the long and expect that it wins 70% of the time. And if it doesn't, and it stops me out and it continues to run the other direction, I'm not going to say, oh man, I should have shorted that level. I'm just going to say, oh man, it didn't work that time. And I'm going to go to the next trade and look for the next setup that I can use for my personal strategy. That's why I think it's really important to just kind of, instead of strategy hop, find something that works for you more than 50% of the time, unless you're going to go with big risk to reward, right? If you are getting like 10 to 1s, you don't need to win 50% of the time. You only need to win a couple times a week for it to balance out for you to be profitable. But you have to understand that you are going to lose a lot more, right? For me, I'm going 1 to 1s. I'm going 2 to 1s. I'm high win rate, take my base hits, move on, and that's fine with me because I'm okay with just taking 1 or 2 quick trades and being done. Some people want to hold. Some people want that giant big move and be right and be correct. You don't have to be right. You just have to make money. That's the only thing we're doing this for. And if people tell you it's not about the money, then that's crazy talk. It's about the money. That's why you're doing it. It's fun. And I love the process. And it should never, the goal for the day should never be about the money, right? But if you do everything correctly, if you set your mindset right and you do everything in course, yeah, it's for the love of the game and also for the love of the money. If you have to detach the trades from the money though. So you have to love what you're doing. You have to love trading. Otherwise it's going to burn you out and kick your ass. If you don't, like I said, then probably don't do it. If you do, if you enjoy the process, if you like the analysis, if you enjoy getting in and trying to see where you could be right, where you can limit your risk, what's moving markets, what creates movement, doing all that stuff. I love doing that stuff. It's great. When you get to the point where you can detach your trade from the profit, then you're going to trade better, right? Or like a revenge. Oh, this is better. This is a better location. This is a better location. When you start to feel like I'm bottom picking or I'm top picking, then definitely stop, take a step back. Scott, I think what would help you really is watch this. If you have your levels and you decide, hey, this is going to be where I want to get long. And if you enter and you're correct, then you're correct, right? You're able to trail, you make your money, you're good. If you enter and you're wrong, I think you need to set up some sort of like a timeout period where you go and you walk away. Walk away for 5 minutes, go to the bathroom, wash your face, I don't know, go outside for a second, go do something other than look at the chart, because you're going to find another reason to enter it if you don't have your mind right? If you lost a trade that you thought was correct, take a step back, move on, get to the next one. But if you if you can't do that, if you just feel like you can hammer in and hammer in and hammer in, like right now, oh, this would be a really great trade. Like I could take this short, and then it burns you and goes long. Or this is a really good trade right here, failing a key level, right? The low of the day. We flushed the low, could rotate back up. S&P's is failing the overnight low. I take it. I'm stopped out. I don't want to just be like, all right, I'm going to wait till the next one and the next one, right? That's only because you're not seeing this is what he said. He said, every time I don't hammer back in, it stops me out and immediately goes the direction I want it to. If I do hammer in, it keeps running. Logging out is best for you, and exercise or a long walk and wait for a new day. I agree with you. So if Scott, I think to avoid that is scale back in size. Obviously, on these combines, you're scaling up a little bit. You're making some good moves. You're taking bigger moves. If you scale down, widen your stops a little bit, take the same risk, then you can say, okay, it won't wick me out. I can let it run. Good. And then if it stops you out again, like on the bigger stop, but for the same dollar amount, then at least I'm definitely wrong. Maybe it'll avoid that I can get in again, type mentality. But you need to look at it like on a broad spectrum, right? Like I'm looking at this on the 1 minute chart, but I also have a 30-minute chart, and I also have the NVIDIA chart, and I also have the S&Ps, and I'm using a lot of things like, Delta. I could see if Delta is still very heavy, then price is probably going to stay pretty heavy because there's aggressive selling coming in at that price point. So it'll keep me from rehammering back in. Doesn't mean that it will not turn around and go the other way. It just means that you didn't get it. And you can just move on. So that is actually a nice Delta reversion there. This is a key level for me. Pre-market, technically, support. Low of the day break. See what happens when it holds. It's 10:06. I'm on the 100K. I want to see if this will get to the overnight low and fail it. That would be my ideal situation here. Because really what it'll do is kind of like just clean up everything here. If it can get down into, we'll call it 155. If it can get to 155 and reject it, then potentially I will see that reversion back above. If it just turns right here and rotates back up, then fine. But S&P is currently holding below that overnight low. NVIDIA did just catch a little bit of a bounce, but it is holding below 113.50, which is the gap up from the post-market to pre-market this morning. I think we do get down into overnight lows. I like to leave this up, show you that we manually locked out, so we cannot execute on this account anymore. We secured, made sure that we were green for the day. Very happy with starting out our Monday up, across two accounts, 500 plus, 520, 5 whatever it is. Allowing price to set up for us, get to our levels, be able to limit our risk, be able to do things with calculated decision-making processes instead of just emotional, it looks good, I'm going to trade. You really can't trade like that long term. Yeah, you'll get lucky a few times. You'll make good money. And you could probably do it for a decent amount of time until market conditions completely change on you, and then you're just going to burn yourself and draw yourself down. The biggest change I've made since the last time I was funded to this time where I'm funded, I've taken withdrawals on the previous time. The change I made is wholeheartedly just eliminating every single trade in the middle. There's no reason for me to execute anything in the middle because every single day we will likely touch one of my levels. Overnight high, overnight low, previous day high and previous day low, right? We'll touch off on those levels, and then I will have an opportunity to make a decision around those levels to execute a trade. Those are reactive levels. Those are areas where decisions do need to be made because it's where they were made prior and where they were made, at key times during the day. So that's kind of just what I'm looking for. It helps me. Yeah, you're having a good day. I like it. I'm having an okay day. A good Monday where I could have been short from the overnight high. And, if I was one of those longer term intraday position traders, I could still technically be short. Don't think, that might have stopped you out right there at that 21 if you're really holding this, or if, If you're somebody who's just break even, let it run overnight high to overnight low, the full rotation is a good move. But like I said, that's not my thing. I took my money and ran. Usually when I catch this whole move, it's because it doesn't do the retest. It'll break down and just go straight down. I'm able to just trail it as it goes, waiting for this. Like I said, this first move wasn't the right time for me. It could have netted, double what we had, but it just didn't set up perfectly. Waited for that next ideal setup and then rotated it down. Every single day you get this opportunity. I mean, it's like clockwork. These levels are going to get touched. Things are going to happen around them. You just got to be able to recognize if it's going to be a breakdown or if it's going to be a failed breakout and rotate the other direction, right? Now we're making new lows. Delta is not, so they're not aggressive sellers here. Let's see if we get into this overnight low. We're going to switch to the 100K account and give us a shot at taking a long through the overnight low. If we can, it may not get there. It may get above this 221 and rotate up. There is a chance, however, it breaks this overnight low and just flushes down to previous day lows. Like I said, I think this 150-ish is a good area to see if it'll hold that 150 for a breakdown or not. And I'm willing to take my shot on this 100K just fine. If tilt gets super heavy, we get 70-something%, high 70s, high 80s, then that'll confirm you a little bit more on the failed breakdown. NVIDIA is still selling, very much so. We are getting into support from Friday. Doesn't mean that it can't flush support from Friday. However, I think 112 even would be a nice bounce point, which will give us a nice area to give this a shot. I need this to get through the low, and then we can rotate through overnight lows and back up. 155 would be a really good point for this to get down to for me to decide to rotate it back the other way. This is still heavy. Delta breaking and being confirmed. I got to let this close, do its thing. Then I can decide if I want to take the long the other way or not. It's getting heavy. It's still pretty heavy. It's a little whippy for my liking. I need to see this candle close, see if it's going to close below. And if that's the case, then we can be even more patient. What does this get down to? 161. I wanted to get to 155. If it rotates right off of here, I miss it, then fine. That's cool. But I think we do get a chance to wait for this now to push down again. Get me down to like through the low, because NVIDIA didn't quite get to 112 yet. Still needs to go a couple more pennies, 12 more cents. And if this is going to give up, stop buy up here. There's my 150, 160s. 112 even just got tagged on NVIDIA, so if we can get this up over this body, then we should be able to squeeze a little. But if it holds again and breaks down, then we don't have a trade, right? This is how I look for it. It's only 50-50 on the tilt. We'll pull back to 200. Isn't crazy to think that it'll happen. So let's see if we can catch a little piece of this. Rotation back the other way. If NVIDIA gives up the low from Friday, we may be in for some heavy selling. 111.60. It's pretty heavy, to be honest with you. That's a nice break of that low. If you shorted the high and you're still holding, good on you. I don't think that's possible. I don't think many of you did, but some people do. So that's a strategy for them, and this is a beautiful setup for them. For me, I would like to see this cancel out that 173. I don't want to be tickled in right at the overnight low. I want to let it rotate on me a little bit, get me triggered in, and then I'll just risk to the low. Could buy it right there. And we're filled long. Gonna try and push up a little bit higher before getting to even. Now, it shouldn't come back to it. If it does, I get stopped out for a break even. If it doesn't, then so be it. I'm going to go bottom of this candle. Actually, 180. 180 likes to hold. So I grabbed $100 on that bounce. Still look for more on this. If I can get one more good flush to the bottom. I got to pee, so it's hard to focus when you got to do that. Give me 1 second. Give me another push to the downside, and then we can rotate back up. Yeah, it's always much better if you can just relieve yourself a little bit, think clearly. It does feel heavy still. Like, it's hard to just get in front of this. A nice little whip of the bottom would give me a little bit more confidence in it. Yeah, I don't think that's ready to go yet. There's a heavy push down. If that fails, that would be a really nice indication of a long. It's worth the risk for me on this account to give it the shot again through here. That was a really nice, heavy move that should have just continued on and didn't. Right? That heaviness. I get some triggered in. I got wicked in. Gonna get stopped on this probably. Yeah. Well, didn't get stopped. Didn't get stopped. Still in this. Still fair. Still good. See if it squeezes out of this. No, it's got a big seller there. It seems like somebody's kind of hammering that. There we go. Push, 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 push. Box, box. Alrighty. Up 100, break even. I'm going to keep my break even there. The way I like the price action to be, that wasn't it. It wasn't it. Although it does look really nice. If it can... I want to see if this delta is acting anyway. What kind of orders we got on the book. Starting to creep back up again. If this can... How many seconds are left in this candle? 40 seconds. Just kind of opened. Very wicky here. I still want to get over that 70 mark. But if we get down to 150, that was good. Anything over that, we'll do one more shot at it. If it can't make a new low, it could bounce off of that. If not, I'm going to be patient and let it do some more dancing around. I need to see if NVIDIA is going to bounce off this low or not. It's pretty heavy. 155 was a very key level for me. It's trying to give it a go one more time. If it does hold this, could this be the time where we break through this little wedge and we pop? If not, if we crack lows, then do we flush even further? 150 pushes us down to 117, 120-ish. But if it doesn't, if it holds this low, then we could potentially get squeezed into a long that could come up into that 221 without a lot of issue. If it does squeeze up, right? Like if I could get this to pop and get above, it shouldn't come back down if it does that failed move. And I could get to even pretty fast. But if it's going to continue to be sell side, like I said, I'm not upset. I went to one White Sox game and I just can't stop getting emails from them. They just love to email me. It still feels pretty heavy. Tilt's not overly short. It's 50-50 still. NVIDIA is at a support level, and I think if it can catch a little bit of a bid, a little bit of a bounce from here, then we can get this to kind of run out of here, right? Get this to be a good area for that long to squeeze out the overnight low, cleaning up that area and then running up. We're playing with our levels, right? We've already secured 500 across the other two accounts. We're up 100 on this one. Willing to risk our trades at our key levels for the rotation the other direction. See if this will go. Looks good. Will the buyers step in or not? Is this going to give up right here and fail? And if it pushes up higher, do we add? Nope, we're out. Flat. That was a nice little sell side move there. Still wants to give up to the downside a little bit. It's hard to fight this momentum to the downside right now. If you're looking at this objectively, kind of right into that area as well. Bum, bum, bum. It's all about timing in this market. Let's see, 51% long, flattened out delta. I'll give it one more shot again. If it's going to go, it's going to hold these levels. At some point, NVIDIA catches a bid. Then this rotates. These overnight levels are very, very reactive. We missed it on the high side for that third entry. On the 100K, we're just going a little bit more. Still valid. We're still valid in our thesis on this. Still haven't really cracked lows. Delta's getting a little heavier right now, which is going to be interesting. See if this kind of traps a short in and then rotates again higher. If not, it could just be a breakdown here with that heavy delta pushing in. You can see aggressive sellers stepping in. I don't have much size on the book right now. Right below us, a 40 lot, which just looks like it got filled. Yeah, it got filled. So if that's going to be the manipulation, then we'll go long right through that level. If it's going to be a breakdown, then we'll see it go. Kind of hovering around this down 100, up 100. If I can catch the break and the rotation back up, then we'll be happy campers. If not, we're still happy with our execution on the day, waiting for our key levels. Up on the other two accounts. And this account, we're looking to just catch a nice little bit of a breakout above the overnight low here. Seeing if NVIDIA ran into a wall here. Let's see if Microsoft has any further downside. It does. Seems a little heavy right now. It's into the close of the day chop from Friday for Microsoft. Looks like a bottom break, but it could be a failed breakdown. Apple's at support. NVIDIA, AMD. AMD's at support from Friday. So could act as the ignition point for NVIDIA to start to rotate back up as well. But if NVIDIA gives up the low from Friday, which is 111.58, then this continues to sell side. But this is very nice as far as the tightness of the wedge, seeing if this aggressive selling didn't really lead to very heavy price action. So we're at our key level, still haven't got the breakdown. Still waiting for that next either rotation back up or the next leg down. And that this is a decision point, right? The overnight level low. So there was a lot of buyer here on the overnight. We have now cleaned those up. Now do we get a nice little bounce from this 155 level that I liked from before? Willing to risk the full 200 on this. Let it go and see what happens. If we get up to 180, that's when we'll get to even because that's the decision point for a break. Usually the 80s acts pretty strong, right? You can see it here, 81. So we'll get to even if we get up there. Or tighten it up to the overnight low, I should say. S&P's is curling up. NVIDIA's curling up. So we will get triggered into this. See if it'll squeeze. All right, we're triggered in again. If it fails again, then we're going to be kind of just taking a step back from it. 10:25 a.m. here. 5 minutes till that euro close. Possibly could give us a little bit of reprieve in the selling, profit taking, which will lead us to get up to that 200. 221 would be nice. Would be where I want this to get to at least. But I would like to get even at 80. It's got to get to 80 though. Can't not let it get to 80. So 80 is printed right there. We're going to get to even. I'm okay with it coming back on me. Actually, I said I was going to get to the overnight low, right? Nah, whatever. I'll leave it alone. S&P's is right at the overnight low. Could it squeeze it? Could it squeeze it and help us out? Buyers could step in here. I'm risk averse. I'm at even, but you could definitely be below the overnight low and be safe. If we get over 80 again, this should squeeze a little bit. Hopefully we can get up to 200. There we go, up to 80. If we can get through 80 and hold it, get through the high of this, I'll get to 80 on my stop. But if it doesn't get through the high, then we stay at even. I'm cool with this being at break even. I'm not going to overmanage this one. I want to see if I can get a little more out of it. If it squeezes the high of this consolidation, then we should be good. But if not, then we'll get stopped out. Do we have any size overhead? Nothing crazy overhead. There's a break. There's a somebody at 70. Nothing huge though. Feels like it wants to get going, but then also at the same time it's running into that wall. That 80, like I said, that 80 is the decision point, right? 80 right there, 80 here. If it get through 80s, we should be able to squeeze up a little bit more, and then I can get myself to 80 as the stop. I'm going to get below this wick here because I think if that wick breaks, then we're going to break down anyway. Need to squeeze the high. If you squeeze the high of 85, get through 85, then I can get to 80 as my stop. All right, the high is pushed. I'm going to get to 80 as my stop. 179.75, a tick below. So let's see if we can squeeze up to 200. If we can squeeze up to 200, failing that overnight low. That's why we take our shots at it, baby. Levels are absolutely money every single time, every day, every day. Every day we do what we should do, and we get rewarded for it if we could just let it play a little bit more. I think 200 would be nice, but if it comes back and fails us here, we'll be all right. All right, that's good. nice little catch on that. I think we can still keep going to the high side. I'm not that kind of trader. Technically could have trailed it all the way up into that rejection point there. Right here at 191. I thought maybe we'd go, if we got through that 85, we'd push even farther, but that is a nice rejection. You can see right here, probably assisted in that sell pressure right there. So it knows to sweep the 80s. It knows to keep going. 85 is that break point. 85 to 91. If you get the break above the overnight low in the S&Ps, then rotate back higher possibly. Yeah, I'm okay with that win. That was really good. We went from up 100 to down 100 to up 3 on that unrealized. We're 70% long on the tilt, starting to lean into the tilt a little bit more. This is a really good area for that long. Obviously, we did take it from the overnight low. We trailed it out to 82-ish. So really good trade there. Overall, very good on the day. It's 10:30. We got 30 minutes left in the stream. We got 1 minute left, or no more left in the. It's 10:30, so it's Euros closed. Could potentially lead to that rotation now, that 10:30 rotation the other way. But this could also be the failure, right? And that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Could have really saw that coming at that 91. That was a little bit on me for not trailing out a little bit tighter. And just taking my money as I saw it coming. But the way it was pushing, there was a better likelihood that I thought maybe we'd get into that 200. So I was going to get tight at 200. I let it breathe, and so I take a little bit smaller of a win, even though, we took off 225 on that trade. So overall, green on the day, and there's a nice flush down into that low. So we went long here a couple times. We went even. We went up 100. We went even. We went down a little bit, and then we went red to green, small red, 100 to up 100. So overall, up about 600 for the Monday. Very happy with the day. I may look to see if I can get one more long on this through this level, because I like when it pulls back like that. That straight down pullback, although it is heavy. 1030 might just induce heavy sellers to come back into the markets. NVIDIA is still holding that 111, 112 area. So, I mean, this is heavy, though. Trying to see what's next. Like, I think 120, I said, right? 126, 125, 126. I'll call it 120 to 130 in that area for that next downside pressure. Down to 117. 117 could be that next level. And then I said if we do crack through those lows, the previous day lows do come into play a little bit here too. So the lack of follow through in NVIDIA to the downside with this heavy pressure could lead me to believe that this is wanting to get bid up again. With a move like that, technically you would expect there to be stops above 191, so potentially this could rotate and squeeze those stops to catch, right? If you think about this logically, hour long, if we were going structure based, the stop would be down here. You just trapped longs, swept their shorts to get more buys in here. And now if you're going to go ahead and know that people who got short here are going to put their stops above 190, 191, then maybe if it rotates through 191, you get the squeeze back up. But it is very heavy. We are in a downtrend. NVIDIA is still trying to bang its head on that low. It's trying to get through the bottom at 111.58. It's kind of lingering at 112. S&Ps, I mean, still pushing lower. The heaviness is still there. Nothing telling us otherwise. Less than 30 minutes left in the stream here. I am locked out of these first two accounts here for 260 on each account, and we are up 113 on this current account on the 100K. Overall, doing really good. Well done, Scott. Good job locking out, plus money. take your money and run. I may look for one final opportunity through this overnight low if it does give it to me within the next few minutes. Otherwise, go ahead and lock myself out and then get on with my day. It's my Friday at work, so it'll be tomorrow back on here, 8:30 again, to look to get some trades in. Scott, always a pleasure. Go to bed, get some rest. I'll see you tomorrow right here, same place. Down only 100 for the day rather than 300 or more, so that's a win. Absolutely. Anything that you can get back is a win, right? It's something that you don't have to make to dig out tomorrow. Excuse me. NVIDIA just cracked the low from Friday, so Friday's low has gave up. If it holds, then the continuation possibly pushes us down into, oh man, there's some heaviness that could come in. NVIDIA does have down to 111 even, and then if that breaks down to 106.30 is that spike low from last Thursday. If we recover this low from Friday, then possibly looks to rotate us back through the overnight low and beyond. This is a failed break though for me. Makes it hard to take this trade again. Overall, I'm pretty happy with our trading for a Monday. We did our due diligence. We waited for our levels to come into play. We may have missed out on that third opportunity at the top, but I don't mind it. What's new in Top Step X world? Scrooge, if you could take small mental victories in this game, it's going to be a real help. I think, at the end of the day, just executing according to your plan, allowing things to work out, and having like a real strategy behind your entire trade, right? Like I talked through this entire overnight low break move trade management plan, right? I said, okay, I'm going to get in if we break above the overnight low again. When we get to 80, I'm going to move to even, which I did. And as we push through the high of the 85s, I'm going to get at least to 80 for my stop, right? So then you get up, we push in. We were at even. We pushed down, and we pushed right through that 85. I moved to 82. I moved to 80. We pushed up even into that 91. I moved up even further up into 82. And I caught more of that move. But I talked about how I would have that trade structure. I wanted to see it squeeze to 200. I would move it tighter to there if it got to 200. It's how I manage every single position. I want things to have a plan. Same deal here. If we can get above this overnight low, I see this as another good opportunity for a push right back into the same area, because what happens is you got longs involved. You stopped out the shorts just to get yourself more involved long down at key levels at 117, which was where there was a lot of action on Friday. If you get long through, if it gets through the overnight low, if NVIDIA starts to catch a bid and you start to push back up over 112, 112.50, then the overnight low here, it's a reacceptance back into the range, back into trying to make new highs, trying to push ourselves back up. And I think, 117 was a good area to get long. However, now I'm going to wait for confirmation. See if this overnight low can squeeze. I'm going to get long through that overnight low again, and I'm willing to take that risk because it's part of an idea that I have had moving forward. Right? If it just wicks me in and rotates down further, then it is what it is. But if this gets canceled out, this 189, this 191, if those stops get run, I'm in for 20 points plus in profit. If I get stopped out, then I'm down small, and I'm good for the day. But I'd rather take the chance, be in, get involved in my strategy, get involved with the failed breakdowns, failed breakouts, everything that I could do to manage my risk and be right quick or wrong quick, right? Back up, get above this lower band of VWAP. That could be a good entry there. At 60, is it? If we do get triggered in, this will be the last execution for me for the day. I will lock out afterwards. If you guys are still trading throughout the day, be cautious, be mindful, understand your plan, have a plan. Trade your plan, trade your levels, trade your setup. That's what I tell myself every morning before I get on the screen. I tell myself, don't do dumb shit. And I say, trade my plan, trade my levels, trade my setup, right? Plan it out, find the levels, trade those levels, and only trade those levels if you have a setup for it. This is a nice little short trap kind of for me to kind of see. Looks like 159 is that lower band of VWAP. If it holds it, then it still could continue downside, which is fine too. If we squeeze up over the overnight low, I would expect it to go kind of quickly, regain this entire move and then see what happens through that. And then once again, it's going to be the same kind of idea through 80 at even, after 80, 85 and beyond, to 200 and beyond that. See where we could kind of manage this to. I would love to see NVIDIA up over 112.50. I could wait for a close over this level, but I think if we get up over it, we can squeeze it, with the price action. The 155 level is important, like I said. So get back above 155 and you rotate even further. Nice long bottoming wick at 117 on the 30-minute. Like it. I like it up to 200 at least if it can get through. And if I get stopped out, it's cool. I had a plan on it. Usually if I get 10 points in the money, I can get to even. And let's see if we can get this going. I want NVIDIA over 112.50. Still not there yet. Delta's acting in our favor. We are above that lower band of VWAP. So long as we hold above it, we should be safe. 160, I think, is that lower band pretty much exactly. Right now it's 157 and a quarter. So 157 needs to hold. NVIDIA took a tick down, but not selling heavy. So still good. We're filled in long. Didn't go fast like I thought it was going to go right away. But if we can get up to 80, I can definitely get myself to even. If we stop out, like I said, then we're just done for the day on this one. The boys are back in town. They were outside biking. They'll probably come in and say hi in a few. Technically, what I say, 157 quarters is that lower band of VWAP. I want to hold above that. Probably going to stop me out if I'm at 60 even, but it's okay. 56.50. That's too far down. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it alone. If it stops me out, like I said, it's cool. Only going to be down a little bit, but if it can squeeze up through this level, then we're going to get paid. And we did not. So, that was a nice breakdown retest of the level. See if 57 holds, and then that's that. 57 needs to hold, but that's like like that wedging pattern I like to see as well. So Nvidia did curl down some right below the low of Friday's previous swing low. So we're in that final bottom part of the low. See if we get triggered. Like I said, I'm willing to risk this for that chance at that long again through the low. $158 held. Still strong delta, holding in that band of VWAP. What's up, Scrooge? I think this is it for here. We're going to take 2 shots at it and then be done. Like I said, I'm going to take 1 at it, but it's still kind of setting up to be ready to go for the hot long right now. So I'm not going to miss out on it if it's still valid setup. We didn't flush heavy after that, so still kind of stair-stepping straight up. Should be below this wick. Got filled a little less desirable, but it still should squeeze. Like I said, if it gets to 80, we get to even. If it gets beyond 80, then we can get up to 80. That wicked right into 80 and failed it. But I'd need to get above it to get to even, right? You want to see that thing kind of pushing close up there a little bit more. All right, that's fine. '80s are usually super reactive. If you can get pushed through it, like I said before, you should be able to squeeze to that high. If it's going to fail 80 here, then you're going to get rocked and roll over. So it usually we'll squeeze this 80 point, and then we can get up above it. So there we go. We're at 80s. So we're basically just going to put ourselves at even for the day and let this thing run out and see if we can get it to get up to that 200 without getting stopped. But like dancing around with that 80 doesn't like us. Doesn't like us at that 80s. Again, like you can see why I take my levels, why I take them seriously, where they react, where they don't react. I understand a little bit about price dynamics and kind of like where they want to move, where they don't want to move. If this is going to be break, retest, run, then you're fine. Whatever, I'm cool with that. We would have been stopped out at even. Now we're down $6 on this account. No harm, no foul. If we could crack this low, this big bar here, this green bar, could give you a short opportunity down the other way. You could flip your bias, but potentially still giving you strength with that long wick on that 30-minute candle. So like I said, overall, kind of just understand your levels, understand where you want to play, and just do it time and time again. Don't deviate from the plan. Allow your plans to work out. And just keep on keeping forward with everything. Willing to shoot my shot once short on this. I feel like that's just not that lack of breakthrough, that 80. Very indicative of Russell creeping up. Basically even on the day for this account. We're up 260 on our trades earlier. This lower overnight low level is trying to hold. Just got back over it again. So now that break retest was the correct move. So it should maybe now squeeze up over through that and up through 200. Bam, there it is. Look at that. Beautiful reaction off the overnight low. Stopped myself out a little too soon on it, on that retest, but you know, it is what it is. So buttons. These are the reasons why I like these ideas is usually they haven't. My timing maybe wasn't perfect today. but at least I kept myself in the game enough where I was able to kind of see these things kind of coming here, give you good call outs. Hopefully you're able to take them. Hopefully you're able to capitalize on them a little bit here. Just basically understanding what price action is thinking about while it's doing it, and with all these kind of movements that are going on. 211. It's an interesting level. It's like the pop point. Yep. So watch this rotation back to VWAP potentially. If I could have, I would have just left it below overnight lows and let it run out, but it got to 80s and rejected super hard. So that's an area where I'm interested in just cutting and running. But we are so close to catching one of these bigger moves. Just didn't quite give myself the opportunity to do it right then and there. Moving beautifully, straight upside. At this point, you shouldn't. I mean, you could have trails candle to candle if you want. If you want to go right under 221 after this candle closes and then move up. But if you saw that call right then and there, I hope you were able to capitalize on it a little bit. That was really nice move there. If you've been watching me for any period of time, or if today's the first day you watched, you can really see how our levels play out day in and day out. And then just a matter of timing them correctly, being able to get yourself an opportunity to make good money, and then just be done for the day, right? I trade here every day, 8:30 a.m. to 11 Central Time, over on YouTube and in Tradecaster.com. If you're on Tradecaster, give me a nice review. Those stars, I guess, at the end of when you close out the stream. On YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'm going to try and make education videos here and there, but for really, I'm not an influencer. All I want to do is provide you good value day in and day out when I'm out here looking at these levels, understanding where things are kind of, where you could have been long from, right? I was mentioning 117 to 120, and right there, saw that bit of a turn. Once we got through the overnight low, I just chopped myself a little quick on it. Obviously, we have that long opportunity there. We've danced around, down 100, up 100, up 100, down 100, up 100. Now we're even. This could have easily been the trade of the day, aside from that short from the overnight high. That was another really good execution. These are the types of moves that you can catch day in and day out if you pay attention to the way price moves. Overall, like I said, slightly red on this. Not really too worried about it since we are up, 260. Here's our month in review for July so far. As we wind down here in this account, probably going to just lock out the 100K. Maybe I'll give it some time later on for some executions. But showing our patience, letting it play out, letting our levels come into play, really very key to our success. And then, you may get paper cutted once, twice, three times. But you're able to kind of stay in the game. And if you could execute that last time, which I should have done there, would have been up really, really nicely on that 100K account. But you can see day in and day out making the proper executions in order to try and get ourselves, building that buffer, multiple accounts. The month of July here, looking to just continue the green streak one day at a time. And, eventually look back and be like, wow, we really did a good job of building that buffer, sticking to our rules, and understanding that that's what's going to get us paid long term, right? Just because I didn't catch that 100K move right there, this move right here from 168 to probably would have been trailing close to 221. That's 1,300 per contract. Nice little clean move. Never really caught any heat on it. After that pull, we got stopped out on that little pullback there, and then you got the run. So allowing some of my trades to breathe a little bit more might behoove me in some of these setups. Just my ability to allow it to happen. That's just another step in the growth, in the progress. So one day at a time. Like I said, I'm never going to tell you I'm perfect, which I'm not. I don't think anybody in this game is perfect. It's a constant adjustment, a constant, grow yourself each and every day to be a little bit better. And then when that comes, then you're going to start to really see that accentuated growth. You're going to see that parabolic growth in your trading if you could just wait and be patient and allow your setups to come in here and just have the ability to let it come to you and tell you what to do. And then as you see that coming, then you can either scale up, allow your stops to be a little wider, right? Maybe I could have just entered this on the immediate break, set my stop, maybe a little bit deeper than I would have liked, because knowing that if it does hold this 57, like I said, the 57.50, 57.25 should have been my stop on that one, and it just came right to it and rallied right off there. So technically, probably should have been okay on that next push up. So just kind of reviewing that in real time for you, understanding what I'm looking for and all that. So 5 minutes basically to the end of the hour. I'm done trading for the session. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns for the rest of the week, Carlos, always good to see you. Definitely a pleasure having everybody here on a day-to-day basis who likes to come in, talk about trades, see what we got going on, and just, be here every day, day in, day out, making your executions. You're going to be good to go. This guy got his thing shipped. Cool. All right. While we wait for this 5 minutes to close, I want to thank everybody for coming. If you haven't checked out the weekly write-up, go over there, check it out. It is linked in the Tradecaster alerts and in the chat. Also pinned to the top of the chat in the YouTube. So right now, currently just looking to see what else may come of this. Probably a good rotation off that. I liked it. Didn't take it. I took it, broke even, was going to take it a third time, and just gave it up a little bit. Basically, exactly what I explained to you, right? If you didn't quite understand it, I'll just kind of run through why this makes sense, right? You got this pattern here where price came into our level, you got the wedging, and you broke out of here. You trapped longs right into this structure level here, trapped some longs. This short knows that these longs are trying to get involved here, can stop them out below the previous structure, right? Stop those longs out. And then once you start to accumulate as many longs as you possibly can in the key structure areas, that's when you get the rotation back up and through, looking to now know that these shorts have stops right here, right? The stops are going to be right there. So then you can squeeze this level and get more longs, because there's going to be sell orders here. So that's the dynamic of this particular price action, right? It's 100% what it was looking like. It's what I talked about as it was happening. So if you rewind it, to around that 10:30, at this 10:30 mark when we flushed that, I talked about that and how that was probably the likely scenario, right? I don't think we had enough energy to pull us downside any further than that 117, 120 area. The rotation back up higher should squeeze us over this area, stop out these shorts. You stopped out the longs, you accumulated more longs, you stopped out the shorts, and now you're squeezing it upside, and you're getting clean ability to buy. They're able to just see that these orders are here and just scoop them up, and now you have enough orders to pull you back to VWAP. And now if you move to the other side, you could tell that you're ready to go and continue on and say, I got a really great price down here, well far off of that VWAP level. And that's what they're looking to do every day. So if you can find where they're going to do that, it's usually around the key overnight highs, overnight lows, right? You can see it here and here. That's why I play these levels every single day. Up across these two accounts, another great green day on stream, everything live for you. The 100K account, we just kind of pussied out on this right here. Didn't do dumb shit, but didn't let that breathe just another hair where we could have capitalized on this and really never have gotten trailed out probably until we got up into those 240s where we would have seen this resistance. But, once you get above this 221, VWAP is likely to come into play. So, you come into 221, at that point you could just let that thing ride into VWAP and then see where you're going to go from there. But, this was kind of anticipated based on the way price action was acting down here. And that's why I kept hammering the longs through that overnight low, looking for that. But just didn't do it the last time. or I did it the last time, but I got stopped out at 80s because 80s got manipulative. 2 more minutes left in the stream here. If anybody has anything to ask, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to be back on tomorrow. Same time, same place. You could always find me here 8:30 to 11 Central Time on Tradecaster on YouTube. If I ever have any, thank you, Abby. I appreciate it. If you ever had any questions and I'm not on stream, you could always message me at Policing Pips, at Day Trading Coffee Co. Thank you, Abby. I appreciate it. Go into that write-up, and if you have anything that you want me to go over or anything like that, you can always comment in that little box at the very bottom. There's a whole form there. You can put your information. Just let me know what you want me to review, and I can get that in my email. And like I said, at Policing Pips, at Day Trading Coffee Co., all the fun stuff, all the normal places. If I'm not going to be on stream, I will post it on those platforms first. More than likely, this whole week, I should be clean to finish out this week 5 straight trading days and be ready to go every single morning. Obviously, like I said, we made money really early today. We took a quick long through the previous day high, expecting to get to the overnight high to clean it up. Didn't take that first short, took the second one. Ended up securing 260 across the 2 counts. Was talking about the short right here. Didn't take that short. I already locked out of the 50Ks. Was going to take that on the 100K. Just was a little bit off on it. Didn't have the A+ setup vibe on it, so didn't take it. There you go. You can see played out. Waited patiently for this overnight low to come back into play. And we took this long once, made 100, took it again, stopped out, was down 100, took it again, was up 100, took one more shot at it, got back to break even on that trade and didn't let it breathe enough to where it came back, and now it ran right out. So kind of going through my thesis on this area here and why price action did what it did right here should have allowed me the confidence to hold this through that little bit of a pullback, and I just didn't. And it's more of the late in the stream already have had my locked out account here, and then just trying to do a little bit too much with the management on this last one. And that's just me reflecting on it and going over it, objectively. For the most part, like I said, once this set up the way it did, where we wedged down, trapped, and started to push back in, should have been very confident to just let this play out. That 57 was the lower band of VWAP at the time, right? This lower band of VWAP never got retouched, and I should have used that as my stop location. I was thinking about moving it there. I talked about moving it there, and then I got a little bit shaken out. If I would have left that alone and saw that price, realistically holding that level, I could have comfortably held that to that overnight low to watch for that break again. But we didn't. We're even on that account, up on these 2 accounts. I'm going to shut it down for the day. I'll see you guys all 8:30 again tomorrow morning. Peace out.